God damn. They're so oblivious to everything around them.
God, get it in. Welcome to mulching. Welcome to mulching into madness.
We are back. We've taken a step back from this whole thing just to recalibrate ourselves for 2021. Bailey doesn't celebrate Christmas, so I don't know what his excuse was. I don't celebrate either, but I did. But, yeah, we're back. I'm ready. And let's get this show. How was, so Joe Biden winning, call back to one of our older episodes, Joe Biden winning, and now, my man over here won a bet at, that's a pretty big deal. I don't know how much money he comes, yeah, you.
Oh, yeah. I got dined. I got wined and dined.
Oh, but who took the limelight away from Biden on inauguration?
Lady
My
Gaga.
boy. I admit, boy. I'm gonna hang up now.
So you're Bernie. You're Bernie. You're sad, lonely Bernie. Is that who you're trying to mention?
Yeah. And oh my God, yes. All right, so after a month of fighting, our boy Cheeto in Chief, if you don't know who I'm talking about, YouTube won't let me say his name, otherwise we will get listed, so I can't say his fucking name, but you already know who I'm talking about. Our Cheeto in Chief has conceded finally after months of lawsuits attacking judges, attacking Uncle Joe, attacking everybody, and also losing these lawsuits. And I just realized something. I'm reading the wrong story. So I want to restart that. The American former president, Cheeto in Chief, it's kind of weird saying former president now, because it is kind of weird. Huh. Former president. Wow, it is kind of weird. But he has finally conceded. This comes after last month's Capitol Hill attack, when his supporters rushed the White House. He called the attack a heinous attack and outraged by the lawlessness. Okay? Thanks, but no thanks. And well, oddly enough, he told his supporters to go home and just vibe, but they said no and said.
I'm in the middle of a race, Trixie. Don't talk to me now. Can't you wait till it's over?
Well, to storm the White House, anyways, because we want President our Cheeto in Chief in office now, and however. Up until the attack, Trump did not concede to any or concede in general. He did lawsuits and lost every single lawsuit. And here we are today in Biden's universe.
In the wake of the wacko QAnon supporters and Trump supporters rushing Capitol Hill, which Raza in the last section referred to as the White House, everyone, even those very people who rushed Capitol Hill, are starting to turn on Trump. His former lawyer and bad boy, Rudy Gully, you know who we're talking about, another name we can't see on YouTube, is being investigated. I mean, like, who else isn't being investigated in this era? But, I mean, we're stuck with what we're stuck with. He's being investigated by the Bar of New York State to see if he can even still practice as a lawyer. Removal of his licenses would make it harder for him to represent Trump for his impeachment trials. But let's see if Trump, I think he does the filibuster route, and he just stands up there for ages and just keeps talking. And also, Rudy's never been a lawyer in, like, probably 20 years now, and he just leans on the fact that he was a terrible mayor, so fucking good riddance to his law degree anyways.
I mean, it is kind of he did drain the swamp, if you think about it. If you actually think about it. Technically,
No.
right?
He just kind of told the swamp creatures to fuck off, and now all the old Republicans are just coming back. It's like you could trade one ogre for a goblin, you know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like a monster coming out for its revenge and shit. For the first time, this is when I wrote, put this in, when I even read the story, I thought I was dreaming. But for the first time since the dawn of mankind or human history has been recorded, conservatives finally have done something about their problem. I mean, better late than never, as they always say. This comes after MPP Ontario Derek Sloan got $131 from Paul Foreman, who is a notable neo-Nazi, by the way, and he donated this money last year, at the end of last year. However, many within the party, including the party communication director Corey Ham, are saying that they had no idea that they got this money or that he got this money. Right? They're just pointing fingers like any good conservative does. Conservative daddy Eric O'Toole has been on record saying, he is outrageous, or I am outrageous, or I am upset. Yeah. Anyways. Because of this, since last year's, many have been calling him to be kicked out of the Conservative Party. Now it has been taken into action. Oh my god, a year later. So, my sarcasm is very sarcastic, so I'm sorry about this.
I know, you've just been fucking bang on with the sarcasm today.
Sorry. According to a press release from the Conservative Party, they are in the process of kicking him out, which is great. Fantastic. They should have done it a while ago. Stating the process has been initiated, and they will not allow Mr. Sloan to run for a candidate for the party in the future. The person in question who donated the money, Paul Foreman, who I mentioned earlier, is again I mentioned earlier. He comes from the hate group called Blood and Honor, which was added to the terrorist group in the Canadian Code last year. And this group has been around since a very long time, and then all of a sudden now in 2020 they get added. So our justice system is a marvel of the world. And I just kicked the desk.
It kind of made it cute. Fun additional fact. Same MPP also signed a letter against the lockdown. So there is coincidentally a correlation between your white supremacy and your anti-maskers.
Ah, in other words, water is wet.
I'm not drawing a line, and I'm just saying that if you stand near a river, you might get splashed, right?
I mean, it's a bit on the nose, but...
Now for some news from the other side of the planet. Pakistan, or Pakistan, for you good old Canadian pokes, the home country of my dear co-host here, was hit with a major power outage literally the same day as Capitol Hill was stormed, so back in early January. Cities lost power for almost 24 hours, but you didn't hear none of that. So several cities across the country had no light because of a fault in the power disruption system. The power outage happened at the same time across the country that all the major cities from Karachi to Lahore and the capital Islamabad all experienced power outages in unison. Kind of similar to, you think about the power outage we had for 2 days in New York. It was one station went down, whole coast got fucked. Same thing, but whole
And
country.
it also happened here in Canada in like 2000 when Toronto, all of the southern Ontario
That's what I was
had a
referring to.
blackout. Yeah. Oh, I was in Pakistan when that happened, by the way.
Cartoonish story for me. I was literally sitting in the chair and they had a buzzer, like they were going to shave my head, and the buzzer was about to touch my
No.
head, and then the power went out.
Could you imagine if you just like had that? It's like, well, fuck, I'm just gonna stay here, I guess.
It was hilarious. It was weird timing. It's like, okay, well, good thing we didn't start the haircut.
I was gonna add on something. Oh yeah, when that happened, my mom has cameras in her mom's house there, and she checks up on people because she wants to see that my grandmother is getting service because my grandmother had a stroke. So she checks up on the host with those cameras on her iPad here and whatnot. So when that happened, she had no way of contacting them for 24 hours and shit. So she was like, it's scary. It is scary because it's a poor country. So it is kind of terrifying. But they're used to it. Load shedding happens there a lot and then every house has a compact generator. I was like chilling.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Anyways, my story now. Canada's vaccine supply for the COVID vaccine has been delayed as of right now. The reason being is because so many countries want them at the same time, and and Pfizer didn't anticipate the production and the manufacturing speed would be so slow. So instead of saying over the last 4 weeks in Canada, shipments have dropped to 50%, and this is mainly due to, again, the manufacturing process. To date, about 380,000 Canadians have had the dose, but that number would have been doubled, but because of this manufacturing issue, that number is going to slowly go up. But the vaccine maker is saying hopefully by March they will be at full speed and able to deliver its promise. So we will be getting more doses mid into the year, which is I can wait. Yeah, I can wait. I don't know. Yeah.
If we'll even get it.
Yeah, you and I are like on like the very like at the very bottom of the list.
On the society tier list, we fall very low.
Yeah. But on everything else, Bailey is number one.
That's what matters. So,
Yeah.
the National Rifle Association, or the NRA for you weaker mans, has filed for bankruptcy last year. They are going to seek to incorporate in Texas rather than New York, where a state lawsuit is trying to put them out of business. This comes after New York AG Letitia James sued the NRA and is going for the dissolution over top executives allegedly diverting millions of dollars to personal accounts and other questionable, definitely, maybe gun-related and arms trade-related expenses. The pandemic has also beaten the shit out of the NRA with layoffs of many workers last year and canceled fundraising because they rely a lot on gun shows and conventions and public gatherings to actually gather that fundraising money. So the NRA has between $100 million and $500 million in assets and the same amount in liabilities. Even with that close to $1 billion and all of their political leanings, they're not going to make it through the Rona either.
What was that?
I don't know.
I have a song to sing for you people. That's it's the songs of my people. Okay, anyways, back on topic. 4 people have died during the storming of the Capitol Hill building last month. One was a cop, and I believe the others were Trump supporters, which is on January 6th, after 1 p.m., pro-Trump loyalists stormed the building, pushing down barriers, and in 90 minutes, they were already in the main. I forget what the area is called. What the main area where they cast the votes. Shortly after the House floor was evacuated, Nancy Pelosi and Mike Pence dipped because they were being the ones actually, and this is messed up. They were the ones being targeted. Mike Pence, out of all people, was, and that's a scary thing. Actually, at around 3 p.m., an armed stand-up happened at the front door of the main house where the actual vote was happening to confirm Joe Biden as president. The aftermath of this was people who stormed the Capitol building were ID'd because, as Bailey said at the top of the show, they were taking selfies of themselves and posting them on social media in all in the name of freedom. Many of them have lost jobs, scholarships, and were put on a no-fly list. So, relatable?
So have you seen that the FBI released their list of prioritization for arrests? Did you see that?
No, I assume.
First is like the influencers. So everybody that was notable just by being shared on social media. So the fucking dude in the suit, the shaman, the fucking guy with the handcuffs, the black guy in the MAGA hat, like anyone who made the rounds on social media. First round. Second round is anyone who had a physical altercation with a police officer. Because now the FBI is stating that apparently there was a whole bunch of other wild shit, like they beat the fuck out of all these Capitol police officers. So they're pursuing those people second, anyone who actually had an altercation with a cop. And then third is anyone who checked in and posted on Parlor saying that they were there.
Like, I know Baked of Alaska, I'm sure you've heard of him. He's a Nazi YouTuber, and he's like a right-wing YouTuber. He was there, and he was actually he was cooperating with the FBI, and he's now, I think he's still in custody as of last month.
I've been keeping up with the Alex Jones world, and they're all like turning on each other and cannibalizing each other.
Love it.
And we're watching, like, so it's like Alex Jones has now somehow, like, taken, like, he's dissolved himself of responsibility for the stuff, and now he's, like, pointing at...
He's implicated now, because apparently he was giving money to somebody.
And now he's trying to jump on the Boogaloo Boys. He's trying to put it on the Boogaloo Boys.
Yeah, the Boogaloo, and John Doerr or something, like, or Jimmy Doerr or something
The
like that.
Boogaloo Boys are still fucked. But they try to claim that they're nonpartisan. So they're easy victims for Alex Jones, because then he can say they're being manipulated by the fucking deep state.
Yeah, the deep state is these nuts dragging across their forehead.
That's our official opinion, and that's that. Now on to tech. Since Twitter has become an enemy for pro-Trumpers and the alt-right, many have been leaving the social medias like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter because of the dirty leftism. Apps like Parlor have become an echo chamber for conservatives that strive and thrive on hate. So, however, since the Capitol Hill attack, the internet has been full force on Parlor and taken many of those right-wing Ben Shapiro type guys like out and off the scene. It's actually very interesting. Sorry?
I'm surprised he wasn't there.
He's smarter than that. Ben Shapiro's an asshole, but he's smarter than that. He's not gonna. Yeah. He's smart. He's not. He's been an influencer this long. He knows not to take the selfie there. Even Alex Jones didn't take a photo of himself, and actually he did. Fuck. Fun side note is this actually stands. All this drama is like a good argument for is deplatforming effective?
Yes, it is. Only if it happens to people I hate. That's the only way. If it happens to us, then it's not effective at all.
And that's what matters to leftist Twitter trolls like Raza. So, Parlor and apps like it have been banned from the Google Play Store and the App Store because of the role they played during the Capitol Hill attack. On top of that, Amazon has also discontinued services for the site, but since then, other hosting providers who support white supremacy and hate have taken up and filled that void for them. So somehow it still exists if you're dumb enough to still sign up for the pseudo-social
Other shit.
platform.
Amazon has been advertising data from its location thing called X Mode, which is a firm of its that collects data without its consent, without the consent of its users. Sometimes customers of the company usually include the U.S. military and other big entities like Amazon. They got data from a Muslim Pro, a prayer app that many Muslims use. The company collected data secretly and sold the location of its users as well as locations of other apps. What?
No, okay, I'm so happy you put this in. I forgot about this story. This is wild. Continue.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I heard about this on the radio. I was like, this is because
Because it's a prayer app. Imagine if they tracked Bible apps. That's fucked.
I know. How X Mode got this data, you ask? By including X Mode data in the apps themselves. So the code is written to include X Mode code, so it allows the app to easily capture your data and be like, you were at Harvey's at 2 p.m., you fat fuck. Google Play Store prohibits app developers from selling data, although X Mode isn't on there. Other data collecting firms have also been found in place of X Mode for places where they're not in. So X Mode just started this whole trend of collecting data and selling it to the highest bidder without you or I having any knowledge of it.
Yeah, so, most people who aren't tech savvy at least understand what a cookie is. When you, visit a website, you gather a cookie, which then tracks what your data does on another website. That same thing happens with your interactions on the App Store. So, companies like Xmode will put a little tracker in it, so you say download the Muslim Pro app, then Xmode is in your phone and also tracking everything that you do after you decide not to close the Muslim Pro app and you're, say, checking your banking info or your mailing lists or logging into social media or Googling where you're gonna go pray next so it knows exactly where you are. But it's just,
It's pretty messed up.
It's part of the game.
Yeah. And in some places I was doing research, you're not allowed, Xmode isn't allowed to have that thing there, but they still, it's like the companies have some sort of under the table deal with these firms and shit.
That's where the shady business comes in, right? You identified it perfectly. How do these deals get made? Are they giving them a lump sum? Are they giving them a cost per click?
Yeah.
How are they fucking trading off the data value if it's not supposed to be there? But that's for a deep dive one day, because that's fucking hefty.
And that could be a podcast, so stay tuned. Later on this year, we'll have that podcast up and running.
Bingo, bango. So,
Content. Look at us being YouTubers.
Content gods. Last month, popular messaging app Whatsup announced an update to their privacy policy. Since 2016, Whatsup has been sharing info with its parent company Facebook and the almighty Zuckerberg. info like phone numbers and personal data. Again, who you message with, where they're located. However, before, users were able to opt out of them sharing that data with the almighty Zucks. Now, with the new policy in place, the data will be shared with Facebook automatically. However, complaining and bullying a little bit against the system, Facebook decided to push it back as far as they said that they could. But in the next 3 months, relatively, we're gonna see.
3 months.
That's everyone. Let's per se that I were to do activities that I would not want the police to know about. I may have heard that people suggest that you use WhatsApp for these communications. Don't. The cops can also request those records in a court case.
But aren't they encrypted though?
They're not encrypted. They're not. It's just they can't get it if they get your phone, but they can ask Facebook to give it to you, and they just give it to Facebook. Before Facebook bought it, it was encrypted, but as soon as Facebook bought it, then the cops can just ask for a record of it. And I just know this for no personal reasons.
Let's talk about this. This pop culture time. Since Fox was bought out by Disney a couple of years ago, people have been wondering what is going on with our Deadpool. What is Ryan Reynolds going to do? Is the Man in Tights going to come back? Let's see. I don't know. Being R-rated and Disney being a family-centered company, it's kind of confusing if Deadpool would make it in this world, right? However, last month, Marvel Studio head and our god, Kevin Feige, announced two things. He said that Deadpool will be R, and he'll also be in the MCU. So this is a good news for comic book fans, for DC or MCU fans, and for Deadpool fans. However, the shooting of this movie won't begin until next year when when Ryan Reynolds is all freed up from other projects, and he's also going to be overlooking the script for his third outing. So we can be rest assured or know that a person who cares about the character still is going to be involved with the creation of the third movie, unlike, Zack Snyder.
So, murderer and music producer Phil Specter died last month of COVID at age 81. He was convicted of murdering actress Lana Clarkson in 2003 at his mansion and was sentenced to 19 years. So until he was charged with her death, Specter maintained that it was an apparent suicide. Before he went to jail, he was called a visionary with his music. However, with success of the Beatles, his relevance began to fade, and in 1966, he closed down his record label and left the business for 3 years. And then after having a terrible rivalry with them, he jumped fences and produced music for the Beatles and John Lennon himself.
Adding on to that, Paul McCartney didn't like him, so when they were when they re-recorded a particular song again, Paul McCartney took out all of his parts, all of the parts that Jim's or whoever we're talking about. I forget his name now.
Phil Spector.
But Phil Spector. Paul McCartney took out all of his parts in the re-release of that song. Since the unrecorded incident of Tom Cruise losing it on set when 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 two of his workers weren't wearing masks. Since, since then, he has amped up his COVID protocols by hiring robots, and that will do COVID tests on site. On site.
So that's.
Ro-
But
Sorry.
for reals, he's on site, right? Like, does the robot? It's a robot, so does it understand like consent? Is it like, okay, we must go to a private room and I will stick this Q-tip up your fucking nose, or they just walk up and just right up there?
I a robot just like going around the studio like a snake, going like this. COVID test, COVID test, COVID test.
Like, it doesn't ask. It's just like you've been in contact
I'm
with
gonna
another
do
human. It's like-
No, but what I think is that when the workers write their contract, it's probably somewhere in there. Prepare to get like manhandled by a robot for COVID testing and shit.
You are working on a Scientology-funded set. There may or may not be robots that administer various types of tests through your orifices.
God. Robots can administer a test on the spot and have really really sophisticated architecture, but aren't intimidating like the Terminators. So they just roll around asking you if you're, or not even asking you. That's how Bailey put it out. Just coming up to like, get. How does the machine
spraying sanitizer on everyone and walks up to
and it stabs somebody? It goes right up the brain to kill somebody. While he like sticks up there, and then it goes right down their nose, and it goes right on the ground.
So it's gonna stand there spraying sanitizer on the body as it's bleeding out.
COVID.
Do not contact.
Meanwhile, it's murdered somebody. That's pretty funny. How the machine works, I have no idea, but our theory is that it just runs up to you and starts stabbing you with a thing and shit. Did you get your COVID test today? No. Well,
Or it would be also equally as good if they were programmed with Tom Cruise angry quips.
yeah.
Get
Or
back
like,
to work, you fucking idiot! This production depends on your sanity. Oh, I'm crying.
dude, I think the robots, if I'm allowed to imagine a little bit, I think the robots like have arms and legs, and they put you into a chokehold, and they try to give you. They're like, come on, and shit.
Oh,
They just assault. Yeah, in the contract, prepare to get assaulted by a robot if you turn down your COVID test.
Now,
Sorry.
after that fun imagination, we're gonna take you into gaming land. A land filled with androids, and one would call it a cyberpunk future.
Alright, bye boys. I unplugged everything.
Look, that's a segue and a half. So I swear we would get, if you're into gaming at all, you're gonna make it. Just give it a couple more months. You're gonna end up going a day without having to talk about Cyberpunk.
I hope so.
But as they
For our sake.
say more money, more problems. You know, ever since the game dropped,
Something different there.
it doesn't even. The punchline doesn't make sense. Raza wanted me to say, as they say, more money, more. But it's just not even funny.
It's
So-
funny to me.
Ever since the game dropped last month, which is December, because where the timelines don't work in this reality, it's been hit with issues like being graphically inferior on last-gen consoles, so that's the OG Xbox and the PS4, with performance issues on the modern one as well. I mean, the cops can't even really fucking chase you. It's kind of ridiculous. So first, CD Projekt Red has faced a lawsuit. Now they're dealing with a low player count, and further class action lawsuits, so actually like getting sued by the consumers themselves. Since the game launched, it has lost 79% of its player base, according to the latest stats by GitHip, which shows player base has dropped to 225,000 players a day on Steam, which is sounds big, but is majorly considerable when you realize that it was 1 million prior. In comparison with The Witcher 3 The Wild Hunt, made by the same video game bros, they managed to keep over half of its player base since its launch in 2015. So that's almost like 5 years ago, and it has not experienced any sort of drop-off near that. Normally, single-player games do drop off around the 70% mark, 79%, according to the report, but it shouldn't be expected for a game with this much playability. When you have an open-world game like this, you look at GTA 5, and there's 1,000,001 servers you can still get to this day. So, despite this, the game sold over 13 million copies, and 8 million of those came from pre-orders. So, the player base be dropping, but the games keep fucking selling. Be kind of funny.
Yeah, it's weird. Nobody's playing this game, but it's still breaking record numbers for some weird reason.
It shows that how much the hype beast industry is affected at everything. It's no longer about the product you're delivering. It's about how much fucking Kanye West fans can you get to like it.
That's true. More Cyberpunk news. Bullshit, as I said. Just days after their apology of the haphazard launch of the game and with the development roadmap that will carry out this entire year, a new report came out by Bloomberg that shines more of what happened behind the scenes. The story claims that when the game was announced in 2012, it didn't get into real development until 2016, so 4 years after the game was announced. When CDPR announced that the game would be released in 2020, the studio and the game developers were kind of confused, like, this game isn't going to be done. They assumed this game would be ready in 2022. Bloomberg states that fans were also stoked on this, but the team were saying, "What the fuck? It doesn't make any sense. Why is there a game? Why is a game not ready? And we're saying it's coming out in 2020. I don't get it. And pay me." The kicker of this entire thing is when the game first got showed at the E3 in 2019 on the Microsoft press conference, the gameplay was impressive. It was amazing. It was like we've never seen before, and it was being played on an Xbox. But the issue of that was it wasn't actually real gameplay. The report found it was a pre-rendered footage. The report also states that CD Projekt Red hadn't yet finalized and coded the underlying gameplay systems, which is why so many features, such as car ambushes, were missing from the final product. The developers said they felt like the demo was a waste of months, that they should have gone towards making the game. And because of COVID and language barriers, it was harder to make this game come out properly. On a Twitter post by CDPR head Adam Badowski, I can never say that name, by the way, has said it is hard for a trade game show demo not to be a test version of a vertical slice 2 years before the game ships. But that doesn't mean it's fake. Compare the demo with the game. Look at at the dum-dum scene, at the car chase, and many other things. What the people reading your article may not know that games are not made in a linear fashion and start looking like a final product only a few months before launch. If you took a look at the demo now, it's different, yes, but that's what the work in progress watermark is for. Our final game looks and plays way better than what was shown, which is kind of doesn't make any sense because the game what we're seeing now doesn't play the same as what we have shown. So, yeah, sorry.
So after all that rambling, the only thing I want to tack on to the end of that is like the main root of a lot of their lawsuits. Because there's a lot of evidence that comes out now that their company was fully aware of these setbacks. So when you take that to your investors and you lie to them, you are now doing stock fraud.
Oh shit.
Yes.
I like how you said that went the straightest face possible.
Well,
and that made me scared.
It doesn't seem like a big deal to us as like the nerds who are playing the games, but if you're like, I'm fucking Joe Blow, I gave you $10 million, where the fuck is what's going on?
Yeah.
You promised me a fucking Ferrari and you gave me a Civic with a fucking tuned up engine. Microsoft has reversed their price hike on Xbox Live, actually listing to their customer base after complaints came from the community. According to their website, Xbox Live yearly would have skyrocketed to a massive $120 from $60. In a post after complaints from the community, they said, quote, "We messed up today and you were right to let us know," the update read. "Connecting and playing with friends is a vital part and we failed to meet the expectations of players who count on that experience every day. As a result, we have decided to not change the Xbox Live Gold pricing plan," adding that free-to-play games like Apex Legends, did you watch a stream, and Fortnite now don't need to have Xbox Live to play. However, to play the other games that aren't free-to-play, users will still need that Xbox Live or Live Ultimate.
Which barely needs to get.
Maybe, because I want that multi-platform gaming. But clarifying that this price hike won't come in anytime soon. It's kind of interesting to see them actually take a step back and go, all right, okay, we'll step back for now. But it kind of shows that they're just so thirsty that as soon as everyone's a little bit comfortable with it, they're gonna fucking pop it up.
Raise it. Yeah. And that's why I've switched over to PC gaming, because it's free. So we're doing something new this round. We're chinning up the roundup now. We're less stories, and we're going to focus on the more important ones, which is why it'll seem shorter. But we're doing lightning rounds of all the smaller stories that happened during the month.
All right.
Briefly talking about them and shit. So, Bailey will start off first with our first story.
So, Biden got into office. Everyone thought he was going to be super cool and progressive and sign new laws into order. No, he didn't. He just reversed things. So, he signed in and he revoked the permits of the XL pipeline. You know, that thing where they still won't talk about how they mistreated the Native Americans? And our boy, JT, is disappointed. But hey now, we can invest more in green shit, but still you losing jobs. Super sad face.
Super sad face. Well, we're getting an other Indiana... Well, no. We're getting an Indiana Jones movie and a game now. A full-fledged open world... No, I don't even know it's open world, but a full-fledged game. If the fifth movie wasn't enough, now you can have a game accompanying from it. The game is made by the makers of the Skyrim, but Bethesda. How the good thing about this the development of this game will not affect the development of the next Elder Scrolls game or the next re-release of Skyrim that can play on your fridge.
I liked it. So, everyone is getting into self-driving cars because fuck it. Xbox maker Microsoft has teamed up with Cruise on self-driving chips for $2 billion, making the parent company valued at $3 billion now. This partnership will be a long-term one, but it won't be exclusive because Microsoft wants their video games in all your cars. So, Cruise will use Azure, Microsoft's cloud computing platform, to help speed up the process of making money off of its fleet of autonomous vehicles who use machine learning to control your lives. This allows Microsoft to get into the transportation sector once and for all.
Canada doesn't have a governor general apparently, and I for one am confused why we need a governor general. Like, why do we need a position for the Queen to be represented? Like, she's all the way there and we're all the way here. Why can't we just be two things? But former Governor General Julie Payette resigned after dozens of staffers called her out for her behavior. Her office has described her for being toxic, and having a poisoned atmosphere of screaming, demeaning comments, and straight up like public humiliation and stuff. So wow. Yo, this feels a lot like working with Bailey. 43 participants state her office was negative or hostile, and now Trudeau has got some splaining to do. This reminds me of Wolf of Wall Street, by the way.
Yep.
Yeah. And then...
Oh.
And then, done. Look at us. Dude, I think this is our first show without any hiccups.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully my files save fine, and then we'll be good to go. Don't jinx it just yet.
Alright.
But, yeah, thank you kids for watching. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for your patience through the winter holidays.
I think Bailey wanted to talk about something regarding our formatting.
What about our formatting? What would you like me to bring up, my good man?
Earlier in the show, you're like, I want to talk about the formatting.
Oh, so we're going to be coming at you with the content's going to be a little bit more reduced, but the idea is to be able to deliver it more consistently and regularly. We get that, like, our podcast versus the monthly news roundup and everything can get a little confusing, so we're hoping to deliver that in more of like a concise, straight to the point way, and we might even have some friends joining us along the way, you know?
Yeah.
So keep
Spoiler
it
alert.
locked. It may be a little sporadic. Things may be a little unbalanced at first, but like, trust us, the ball's getting rolling. We're ready for 2021. Hopefully you're ready to like march into some madness with us.
Yeah. Billy and I have been working busy these last 4 weeks trying to get more content out the door, and here we are finally doing this Marching to Madness 2.0, if you will. Same shit, different bullshit, which is the name of our show, so check that out. So it's still gonna stay the same. It's just gonna be more bite-sized and easy, and more important information will be prioritized over everything else. And we're gonna do gaming.
Yeah.
So.
Streaming, bunch of other stuff.
Thanks.
We'll see you on the interwebs.
And we will see you soon. And okay, cool. Very cool. And then cut.